Welcome to the Raven Nole Show. I'm your host, Raven C. Nole, known as the Soul Physician. I'm a wife, mother, counselor, mindset plus life coach, and speaker. And this is episode number 4. Hey. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's podcast. Maybe you're a repeat listener or maybe you are a new listener. Either way, I'm so grateful that you decided to stop on by. As you may know or you may not know, in the last 3 episodes, I gave you a full layout about my journey and my story. You have everything you need to know about Raven C. Nole in those 3 episodes. And so if you have not caught up with those 3 episodes, I strongly suggest that you go back and listen to them because you get a real introduction, a real understanding, a real framework, I guess, about all the goodness about my life from A to Z. So I would strongly suggest that you go back and listen to those episodes. But we're going to be moving on in today's podcast because today I'm excited to talk to you about another 3-part little series that I'm going to be doing about 3 types of high-achieving women or 3 types of successful women. I'm doing air quotes right now when I say successful at that, okay? And just to note, with this information, I'm going to be coming to you from the angle of which I've observed with clients that I've worked with, okay? So there are multiple types of women, multiple types of high-achieving women, multiple types of successful women, but I wanted to put these women that I've worked with specifically, and these are not the only type of women that I've worked with, but I thought it would be good for the podcast and really for the listener, for you. And so I'm going to bucket 3 types of high achieving women into 3 episodes. Okay. And so I want to lay out these profiles for you because I want you to be able to see yourself in the information that I give. Okay. So whether, you feel like you're a high achieving woman or not, I want this to be kind of like a wake up call for you in some way. And so, I got to come with the raw and the real, I got to come, kind of come with that sword cutting a little bit every so often. But I promise you some of the episodes are going to be light and empowering and encouraging and all that good stuff as well. But I wouldn't be me if I didn't give you the real. Okay. And so I was doing air quotes around successful because what I realized is that we often have a tainted view or understanding of what success really is. Okay. There's a tainted perspective about success just culture wide. All right. So many times women who are goal oriented and they have very good careers, or they're just very career purpose driven women. I've learned, I've seen, I've observed that they sacrifice themselves, their health and their overall well-being for the sake of a false definition of success. Follow me? I'm going somewhere. Okay. And I've seen so many women doing this. Okay. And because of this, one of my missions in life is to really help people redefine success. Like, I really want to help people understand that you don't have to sacrifice your well-being for your achievements. Now, listen, I get it. You want to make top dollar. You want to climb that corporate ladder to the C-suite. You want to be successful in your career. You want to be a top-notch leader. Or maybe you feel like you're already there. Maybe you feel like the sacrifices you've had to make in your life to get where you are today is just what had to be done. But then I have to pose the question to you and I have to ask you, what has it cost you, right? What has it cost you to get to where you are today? And then I can also ask this question. If you're not there yet, but you're on your way, what will it cost you to obtain this level of success? Or from my perspective, this level of a false definition of success, okay? Because when you have a healthy definition and understanding of success, you understand that you can be successful and be mentally and emotionally whole. You understand that you can be successful and have a healthy spiritual walk. You understand that you can be successful and have healthy relationships. You also understand that you can be successful and put yourself first before the work and the achievements. But so many goal-oriented women don't have this perspective and they just don't live that type of life. Their lifestyle is really, really broken, and their achievements and that need or that desire or that pursuit really gets in the way. And so in today's episode, I want to talk to you about the hurting high achiever. What a name, right? What a name. And so again, I just have to be real and raw with you about it, that there are so many hurting, successful women, okay? There are so many hurting, successful women. And when I say women, I mean women who are making 6 figures plus or close to it. I mean women who have multiple degrees and hold high positions in corporate America. I mean women who have booming brands and businesses and are the CEOs of their companies, but they're silently struggling with their mental health and they are hurting internally. This is something that is so common. And unfortunately, I believe with the increase of women entrepreneurs and also the increase of women pursuing career fields in just the corporate spaces and just the workforce in general, it's increasing. The level of hurting high achievers are increasing year by year. Listen, I've seen it. I've noticed it. I work with women like this. And typically what I've seen with the clients that I work with who are hurting high achievers is that they're struggling with one or more of these areas. Okay. And so it's about 5 general areas that I see hurting high achievers kind of struggle with. And if you feel like maybe I am a hurting high achiever, or maybe you feel like I know a hurting high achiever, or maybe you're like, I don't want to become a hurting high achiever. Like I said before, take this as a warning to what not to do, or either see the warning signs. Okay. And so a lot of hurting high achievers, they struggle with loneliness. Okay. That's number one. They feel very alone. They feel they can be amongst people, but still feel as if they're misunderstood, that they're overlooked, that maybe that people don't even really notice them, or the feeling is so daunting and almost like there's a hole just within your soul that people, places, things, achievements just have not been able to fulfill. And so there's just this emptiness and there's this loneliness that you feel like you cannot escape. And then number 2, they oftentimes also struggle with depression. Now, it doesn't have to be something that's clinically diagnosed, but there could be bouts of depression, some ups and downs in your mood that you may be experiencing, or these hurting high achievers may be experiencing. Maybe there's bouts of sadness. Maybe there's days that you feel like you have very low motivation. Maybe there's just dark days where you feel like, man, I don't want to get out the bed, or I just don't know what's going on with me. But it could be because there's some internal factors that you've yet to address. And that's what is the cause of the feelings or the emotions that you are experiencing. Number 3, self-rejection. Okay. Another struggle that a lot of hurting high achievers struggle with or deal with is self-rejection. And what I mean by that is you will reject yourself before you tell others no, before you say that this is too much on my plate. You'll reject your own well-being. You'll reject warning signs in your own health. You'll reject so many areas of yourself before you reject other things that are actually working for you and your benefit. Okay. And so that's actually a really hard thing for a lot of hurting high achievers, because you'll show up on social media, you'll show up at the workplace, but in all honesty, you needed some boundaries to be put in place, and you really needed to choose yourself over showing up for others. And so that's one of the things I mean by self-rejection, and that can show up in multiple ways. Number 4 is isolation. A lot of hurting high achievers are isolated. And one of the reasons why they're isolated is because, number 1, they don't want people to see what they're actually struggling with. And so they isolate themselves so that they don't have to worry about people picking up on some of the things that they may be struggling with internally, like depression, or things that they may be struggling with, like loneliness. And so they isolate themselves outside of the context of community or outside of the support that they may need. And then secondarily, sometimes these women have trust issues. And because they have trust issues, they have a hard time trusting people, trusting leadership, trusting friendships, just trusting relationships in general. They decide to isolate themselves because now I don't have to worry about maybe the betrayal, or I don't have to worry about people misunderstanding me, or I don't have to worry about people judging me, or different things of that nature. And so you isolate yourself so that you don't have to be amongst those that could really honestly pull you out of an isolated space. And then lastly is addiction. One of the things that most people don't realize is that hurting high achievers are struggling a lot of times with addiction. And addiction can be in many forms. Hear me out. It doesn't have to be a drug addiction, like alcoholism or some type of, substance abuse, but it could be addiction to food. It could be addiction to social media. It could be addiction to so many other factors. And it also could be substance abuse, or it could also be things like alcoholism. I know a lot of hurting high achievers who are functioning alcoholics, and it's a real thing. When honestly, if you just deal with some of the internal things and the internal factors that is causing this type of behavior or causing this type of need or desire for addiction and different things of that nature, some of these things could be resolved. And so those are the 5 things that I typically see hurting high achievers struggle with. So if you are a hurting high achiever or a hurting high achiever and you are struggling in one of those areas, it's nothing to be ashamed about. But what I will say, it is time, if you can recognize these behavior patterns or you can recognize this dysfunction in some way, it is time for you to do something about it, okay? And so like I said before, although these struggles are real, hurting high achievers typically hide behind the mask of perfectionism very well. They will show up as their best selves, but internally, things are falling apart, or behind the scenes in their personal lives, things are falling apart. So they try to avoid situations like actual sustainable, healthy relationships because they don't want people to see the trueness of who they are. Another thing that they typically try to avoid as well is their emotions altogether. Because if they steer clear of vulnerability and transparency and not allow people to have access to the trueness of who they are, like I said before, they can then avoid confronting any unhealthy habits that they may possess and the fact, again, that they are truly hurting internally, okay? And so here's the thing with the information that I'm detailing out to you about the hurting high achiever. Either number one, I'm speaking to you directly and you're like, "Whoa, Raven, wow. I mean, goodness, you are talking directly to me." Or 2, you can take this as a warning, and I'm going to say that 50 times in this episode, to what happens when you sacrifice your well-being for the sake of a false definition of success. And let me clarify what I mean by a false definition of success, because I've said that a few times now. Most women get to this point in their lives because they are striving to achieve results, positions, or status that is in comparison to someone else's life or an expectation that has been set based on another person's influence on your life or their life, okay? And so what I mean by that is that sometimes we can look at social media and we can say, "Oh, that is what success is," right? We can look at social media and say, "Oh, that's what I need to obtain," or "That's what I need to do." Or we can look at what society paints as this cookie cutter American dream. And we believe that that's what we have to do. I need to be able to be in this dog eat dog industry. I got to show up in the way that they show up. I have to work twice the hours. I have to show up and not be a 9 to 5 person, but, maybe a 9 to 7 person or a 9 to 9 person. I work after hours and weekends plus to be able to get the work done. And so we have this false definition of what success really is or what's required for us to get there. And the hurting high achiever has bought in to this perception and this expectation. But let me tell you, your best friend's success is not your success. Homegirl over there, her success is not your success. The biggest and greatest influencer in your career field, success is not your success. And here's another raw truth. The rejection you've experienced in your life should not be the motivating factor for your success, okay? That is what causes us to get into these parts of our lives where we become so unhealthy because what we've experienced in the past, we don't want to experience it anymore. We don't want to feel the feeling of failure. We don't want to feel the feeling of rejection. We don't want to feel what it is to be at the bottom and everyone else is at the top. We don't want to feel what it is to be the oddball out. We don't want to feel what it is when people say, you can't sit with us. And so we have all those different dysfunctional memories and even trauma fueling us to move forward and do things that are quite unhealthy for our lives to obtain this success that is honestly a false picture. Okay. So when you think about this, I want you to really realize this fact. We all have a purpose to fulfill in our life, right? But we all take unique routes to get there. None of us have the same capacity. None of us have the same work ethic. None of us have the same life histories. None of us have the same individualized needs. Okay. So success shouldn't cost you your life because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? Don't believe the hype. You don't have to be a hurting high achiever to be successful. You don't have to sacrifice and do what homegirl over there did to get success. You can redefine what success means in a healthy way that is within your capacity for your own individual life and your own individual purpose. Okay. So if I can give you a tip today and leave you with one tip is rather you identify with being a hurting high achiever or you're just chewing on this content today, don't desire a lifestyle or success that you haven't prioritized the inner work to uphold. Okay. Do I need to say that again? Let me say it one more time for the people in the back that may not have heard it. Okay. Don't desire a lifestyle or a success that you haven't prioritized their inner work to uphold. Because I promise you, in due time, the pressure that comes with that level of achievement that's in your mind, right? The picture you have of success, the work that's required, the pressure that's required to get to some of these images of what success is. If you are not ready for that, anything that is unhealed, unresolved, or untouched within your soul will surface. And let me tell you, it can get ugly and it can get ugly really fast. So I wanted to profile out this image of the hurting high achiever so that you understand, number one, if that's you and you are there. Number two, how not to become this person. Number three, the warning signs, okay? And things that you may be dealing with. And so my purpose is not to make you feel ashamed. My purpose is not to make you feel guilty. My purpose is not to discourage or put you in an uncomfortable place where you're looking at your life like, oh my God, I am just jacked up. But my purpose is to really highlight in this society that women, we don't have to continue to try to show up in these ways that are costing us so much of ourselves. We don't have to continue to try to show up in ways that social media has pressured us to believe that we have to show up. And it's costing us our health. It's costing us physical health. It's costing us mental health. It's costing us our emotional health. And we're sitting at home behind the scenes, struggling day by day, just really struggling internally. And so I wanted to do this episode today to really give you a hard truth, because y'all know I had to do it, about what it's costing you to continue to try to achieve this false picture and this false perception of success. Success does not have to cost you everything. You can have health and you can be successful. And so in today's episode, I really just wanted to leave you with that and encourage you with that. That's profile number one of the 3 different types of high achieving women that I've noticed, and 3 different types of successful women. You may see these women on social media. You may be one of these women yourself. You may be like, I know a woman like that. And so I'm sure that we all have seen it, but I want to let you know more than anything that this does not have to be your story. You don't have to become, or you don't have to continue to be a hurting high achiever. There are ways for you to really do the work internally to overcome some of these external obstacles of success so that you can show up more healthily, not only for yourself, but maybe your family, for your friends, even for your work environment or your business. And so I just wanted to encourage you, leave you with that profile and give you something to think about. This is not me really giving you the steps to take to overcome it or to become better, but really giving you something to think about and to chew on and giving you a picture of what could happen if you don't redefine what success means in a healthy context. All right. So that's what I had for you today. Make sure you tune in as we continue the conversation and we dig into the next high achieving woman profile. It's going to get good. I got 2 more for you. As always, let me know what you felt about this episode. Shoot me a DM, your takeaways from it. And if this is you, I want to know that. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. Let me know some of the things that you may be struggling with personally. And also give me some suggestions as to what else you want me to touch on pertaining to the hurting high achiever. I'll talk to you all soon and to the next episode. This has been the Raven Nole Show. Thanks for listening. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to this podcast so you're the first to know when new episodes are released. And don't forget to leave a review. If you can't wait until the next show, follow along on Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter at Raven Nole for more tips and to keep the conversation going. Go ahead and DM me on Instagram or take a screenshot of this podcast and share it to your IG stories. I want to know about your takeaways from the show. Don't forget to tag me and use the hashtag RCNPodSquad. Lastly, visit my website at ravencnole.com and join my email list to get exclusive bonuses only for my email subscribers. Thanks again for rocking and rolling with me. I'll talk to you soon.